Hey guys, it's been a while since I've made a video. I'm just want to throw out a little quick one here. A lot of people have asked on my other channels, where I've been all year, what's going on, and here it is. It's October 1st, 2019, and it has been an incredible year. It's been probably 4 months since I've made a video for any of my channels, and I have a pretty good reason why. I have been traveling the world. I've been to China, I have been to Thailand. I'm actually in the process of going back to China here in mid-October. I'll be staying for about 3 weeks, and then things should stabilize a little bit and I'll get back on schedule. But anyway, I did want to throw this video together real quick. This video is probably inspired by Casey over at Camera Conspiracies. I've got a bunch of cameras here. I bought a so-called advanced point and shoot Panasonic LX10 last year, and that's actually what this video is being shot on right now. And I love that camera. But when I went to China last year, I went for the Canton Trade Fair, the big trade show, and for some strange reason I decided to leave this LX10 at home, and I took my Panasonic G85 with me. And I found out that carrying that camera around, even though it's not a huge camera, it's not it's a micro four thirds camera, it's relatively lightweight, but still carrying that thing around 12 hours a day for the better part of 3 weeks was not really a joyous event. So I've been a fan of Casey at Camera Conspiracy now for the last couple of years. I think he's got one of the most entertaining channels on YouTube. And he does most of his vlogging with a video camera made by Sony. He uses, I believe it's called an HDR-AS50. It's a camera that it's basically Sony's version of an action camera, but it's unlike any other action camera out there. They have a lower level version, which I believe is the HDR-AS300, which only goes to 1080p. And I decided I was going to buy one of those. And there was one available refurbished on Amazon for just under $200, and I saw it one evening and I said, I'm going to buy that tomorrow morning. And when I went back the next day, it was already gone, and the rest of the ones they had that were refurbished were in the $250 range, and the camera brand new was like $299, and there just wasn't enough savings there to get me to pull the trigger at that point. So I came back and revisited that idea about a month later, midsummer, and I discovered another camera I didn't know they made, and it's called the HDR-AS50, and it is a 1080p action camera, same basic physical size as its two big brothers, and I talked myself into buying one. I've got to call it a toy here because I have enough cameras already. This was a want rather than a need. But I've been using this now for about the past month, and I am thoroughly impressed with this camera. I'm going to open it up here. This is just a low pro case I picked up for it. It happened to work out perfectly for this camera. But I'll kind of show you what I've got here. This is one of my much talked about and much loved little mini tripods for about $5.99. I've got about a dozen of these things. I use them for light stands, use them for camera stands. I almost always have one or two with me. Really nice little thing. It works great with this camera. But here's the camera itself. I bought an aftermarket battery charger. I don't like charging batteries in the camera. I like to be able to swap out batteries as I'm shooting. In this case, just to show you what I'm hiding back here, I have some additional batteries and SD card. The battery kit I bought came with 2 batteries, and then the camera I bought came with some accessories, like they bundled it together for $1 more than the bare camera was going to cost, and that also came with a spare battery. So I have 4 batteries now, and the batteries give me about 4 hours of shooting time. So it's unlikely I'll ever use more than 2 batteries in a day, but if I do, I've got it. But anyway, I want to show you this camera. I'm not a camera expert by any means, but I know what I like, and I know when something functions well, and this camera really functions well. I looked at all the reviews I could find on YouTube about this camera, and it is a very lightly reviewed camera. I really only found a handful of reviews. But anyway, I went ahead and bought it at its price point, and I was able to get this for about $140. And again, that was in a kit that came with a few accessories, you know, an extra battery. I don't remember what all was there. A little mini tripod, which I have on a shelf now with other mini tripods I've gotten for free. Nothing to write home about. But in any case, you know, I'll just kind of turn the camera around here so you can get an idea of its size and its shape. This is in its waterproof housing. I'll pull it out of here so you can check it out. But for those of you that are familiar with the HDR-AS300 and 3000 series, you know, they're white. That is probably the most noticeable difference. They are ever so slightly larger by just a few millimeters in each dimension, and that is probably due to the fact that they both have a mic input. This camera does not have a mic input. The mic or the sound input ports are here on front for the built-in microphone. This camera does have pretty decent sound quality. It's great for what I've been using it for, which is walking around kind of in a vlogging sort of setup. It works quite well. There is an electronic setting to cancel wind noise that also works quite well and really doesn't seem to affect the overall audio quality, other than it just removes wind noise. So, you know, I've been very pleased with it. This camera does not shoot in 4K. It does 1080p up to 60 frames per second. It'll shoot, I believe it's 240 at 720 frames per second. It's a very neat little camera. I'm just really impressed with it. I did see a review that talked about the build quality being somewhat cheap, and I have to tell you, I don't agree with that at all. I think this is built, you know, quite, you know, very much in line with its price point. I'll put it that way. I think it's built quite well. You've got the battery compartment on this side. Your micro SD card goes on the bottom. It does have a 1420 mount here for tripod use. You know, it's got a push button style controller that moves to a fairly simple menu. This is the type of camera that you're likely to just set it and forget it and use it. So it's not a big deal. This camera the battery can be charged with the micro USB port here and back. You can also live stream with this camera, and it will charge and live stream at the same time, giving you unlimited live streaming capabilities or unlimited recording capabilities, whichever suits you best. That's one of the neat things about being an actual video camera as opposed to a stills camera that shoots video. I've been using it for some live streaming, and I am really thoroughly impressed with its video quality. I'm thoroughly impressed with its sound quality. For my live streaming setup, I do tend to use an external microphone and recorder, but I have shot several live streams with this using its built-in microphone, and you know, have not had an issue with it whatsoever. Anyway, so all I'm really trying to do here is make you aware that this camera exists. This is a cool camera. It's probably roughly at the end of its product life cycle. I think it's been out now for about 3 years. You know, the price is right, certainly at around $150, maybe a little bit less. I have not looked for any of these that are refurbished, but certainly if you're in the market for a small, very capable camera, and you don't want to go with a Hero 5, or you know, GoPro Hero 5 or a Hero 7, and spend that kind of money, you know, I think you're looking at something here that can really do a great job for you at a very attractive price point. I will point you to, again, Camera Conspiracies. Most of his videos where he's outside have been shot with the big brother of this camera. It uses the same lens, it uses the same image stabilization, which is exceptional. You know, it's really state-of-the-art. I would also point you to the channel The Everyday Dad, who has done multiple reviews of, again, the big brother of this one, the HDR-AS50 and 3000, and he compares them side by side to a couple of different GoPro models, and you know, I don't want to speak for him, but he was very impressed with this camera as well. And the neat thing about it is it doesn't look like a camera. That for me, just in closing the video, that for me was the biggest positive tribute. Even with my my point and shoot, the LX10, that is obviously a camera. That looks like a camera, and I know when I'm trying to do something in a vlog style, you know, I have people coming up to me trying to photobomb me and things like that. I don't know, people just act like idiots where I live. So, you know, anything that looks like a camera draws attention, and it gets people kind of in the mix where I'm not really looking for that kind of interaction. This is very small. It fits in the palm of my hand. It's got a very wide angle lens with relatively little distortion around the edges. It has two settings. It has a wide setting and a somewhat narrower setting. On the wide setting, there is a little bit of distortion around the edges, but it's not bad. It's not a fisheye lens by any stretch of the imagination. On the narrow setting, you know, I think the distortion around the edges is so minimal that it's just not even really a factor. But if you hold this, and if you're looking at the lens, it's wide enough to where you're going to be, you know, you're going to be taking up a third to a half of the frame. You don't have to worry about not having a flippy screen or anything. You will be in frame. And I think, you know, if you need something like this, you're going to be very pleased with the results you get. Again, you know, I'm a high value type of person. I'm not telling you this is the best camera out there that you can get. You know, the best is up to you, but I will tell you that this camera offers a set of features that is pretty remarkable. The ability to do unlimited live streaming is really beneficial for a lot of people. If you wanted to do a two-camera live stream setup, you know, for roughly $300, you could have two of these and shoot 1080p at 60 frames per second if you wanted to. And have a really high quality video signal going out to your audience. You know, for just a few dollars more than something like a top of the line Logitech you know, webcam is going to cost you, and certainly for a heck of a lot less than almost any other type of interchangeable lens camera, you know, whether you're going full frame or micro four thirds or you know, whatever format you're currently using. This offers you a really neat alternative at a very low price point. And as you can see, just for scale, I mean, this is truly a small camera, easily concealable, does not jump out at people as being obviously a camera, other than the fact that you're probably looking at it and talking to it. I think that's probably its biggest giveaway. But I've had some people approach me and think that this was some type of vaping device or something. And you know, that's the type of reaction I'd rather have. I'm not looking, again, for people to interfere with me when I'm trying to produce some content, and I'm not looking to have people behind me, you know, photobombing me and things of that nature. So this has worked out really well for me from a functional standpoint. I'm impressed with it from you know, a design and durability standpoint. And the price just puts it really in a league by itself, I think. So anyway, I've gone on too long. Just wanted to show you this. You know, it does come with the waterproof case. Waterproof case obviously is not ideal since this does not have an external mic jack. You know, the sound is going to be somewhat muffled in here. But this is a sturdy case. I did see someone say that this case was kind of flimsy, and maybe they had an early sample of this particular camera, but this is a very sturdy case. It's well sealed, well designed. When you clamp everything together, you're not going to have an issue with water leaks. Let me clamp it together here like I know what I'm doing. Yeah, it's that simple. Clamps together in a few seconds. All the controls are accessible from the outside. But again, your mileage may vary, but I am thoroughly impressed with this camera. For the price point, I would suggest that you take a look at it. If you're looking, you know, if you're looking at a lower end, high end camera, if that makes sense. You know, if you're looking at maybe going and looking for a bargain on a GoPro 5, or if you're looking at some of the high-end generic cameras that will run you, over $100, this might be a step up from what you're looking at for just a few dollars more. So it should be considered. So again, this is a Sony HDR-AS50, and I think if you get it, you'll be very pleased. It has relatively few limitations. The only thing I would consider a limitation right now is that it does not shoot 4K. For me, that's not a factor. I do very little 4K footage, but the 1080p at 60 frames per second is great for me. Image quality is great. The image stabilization is truly state-of-the-art. There is nothing on the market in an action camera that has better image stabilization, I believe, than this one. So keep this in mind. Hope you liked the video. If this was of use to you or of interest to you, how about hitting the like and subscribe button? I promise I will be back up and running with more frequent content generation here in the very near future. But anyway, good to talk to everybody again, and I'll see you in the next video.